This is our biggest team. This is our longest team. From that perspective, that's an accurate statement.
Happy Thursday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devil Show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by Leche Larry, also known as Erik Ruby. We got the Willie Woolbrecht behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Emily, Z-Man, BC, already here early in the chat along with Deborah. Sun Devil spring football is back. Camp is officially open for the Arizona State Sun Devils in Rubus. The first practice is in the books. It feels nice that football is finally back.
Anthony Totri, I have a question for you. Well, I'm going to have lots of questions for you
Okay.
on this show. That's how these shows usually go when you're at spring ball. One.
Okay.
Give me one word to describe how you feel about spring football being back.
Energized.
Give me now one word that would say, if you could wrap up your entire observations from today, day one of spring football for Arizona State University, in one word, what would that word be?
Potential.
Cool.
Potential is what I'm
Follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devil. I mean, I feel like that pretty much covers it. Dude, what an exciting time. I mean, I know we got March Madness, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Who even cares about basketball? Right? You know, the things that I always say.
Not I.
But man, this is fun. I'm sure you could probably feel the energy out there today about like, all right, time to get back to work.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think you saw that from the players. You saw that from the coaches. It's always nice to get out there for the first day and see some of the newcomers, whether that be incoming transfers or some of the freshmen, even the returners out there as well. There were so many players that I think already made some big-time plays just in day one. And again, we got a clip a little bit later on from Kenny Dillingham talking about maybe don't put too much into that first day, right? Because they're not in pads out there. But I think you see a lot of the potential, and you go back to that cold open where Kenny says this is the biggest team, the longest team. I would go as far to say that this is the most athletic team as well that Kenny Dillingham has had at Arizona State to this point in time. And you saw that from the jump. You saw that on defense. You saw that on special teams. You saw that on offense just within the first half hour of practice. A lot of these new guys really showing up and showing out because, again, this is first impression.
Yeah.
Right? This is the time where it's like, okay, I need to make a name for myself early and often. And there were a lot of players that did just that on day one of spring football.
And I think unlike last year, right? And I know last year Kane talked about it in his press conference earlier, and we covered it on the show, is like, hey, there might have been this little like sense of not ease, but like familiarity.
Yeah.
Right? Like we kind of knew what was going on. A bunch of people were coming back. Realistically, you could say that there's a competition for every spot, but we know who's going to be starting where.
Yeah.
There's a true competition at almost every single position, if not for the number one on the depth chart, for the number 2 or the number 3. So I think it's impossible for guys to not come out firing, because how could you feel comfortable? I think you feel excited and comfortable in like the situation and the coaches and the place that you're at, but comfortable as far as your place on this roster, your place on this team. I mean, how many positions do you look at and say, okay, there's 1 or 2 people that should feel 1,000% comfortable about where they are, and other than that, like then it's a competition.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think there are maybe 3 positions that I look at even after the first day where I'm like, okay, these are starters are solidified kind of in my mind.
Yeah.
Right. Whether they're solidified or not is something that Kenny Dillingham and none of the other coaches would tell you. And even the players, you could probably ask them and they would give you a cliche answer of like, it's
nothing is promised.
Yeah, we're competing.
Yeah.
Right. In my mind, Owen Long is a starting linebacker.
Yep.
That's not changing. CJ Fight is a starting interior defensive lineman. And then I would say Lyric Rawls is a starting DB. Everything else in my mind is an open competition.
On both sides of the ball.
On both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I think specifically there has been a lot of conversation leading up to spring ball about the wide receiver room. They're running halves out there. So you're only getting a look at half of what the starters would realistically be. Like today on offense, there wasn't a single team rep where Reed Harris and Omarion Miller were out there at the same exact time.
Yeah.
Right. So they're only running halves. So it's going to be difficult, at least early on, to get a good idea as to who is starting where. So I wouldn't put too much stock into who's running with the ones or the twos, right? They have their maroon, their gold, and their white is kind of how they're running their sets out there. So whoever's running with the ones doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to go ahead and be out there day one as a starter. Because again, Reed Harris and Omarion Miller, they're both going to be starting realistically at wide receiver. So the fact that they're not out there at the same time right now, again, just kind of shows you that everything is still moving around.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get a good look.
Well, and so here's the thing. One, you're not going to be able to take away everything from day one of spring ball. And two, you're not going to be able to take away everything from spring ball, period. You can learn a lot, right? You can learn a lot, get first looks. We'll talk about the quarterbacks. We'll talk about the running backs. We'll talk about a lot of what happened today. But at the end of the day, as important as this is for team building, for chemistry, for early observations from the media and kind of projecting what this team could be, it doesn't really matter until you get to the games.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like undersell what we're going to talk about, but even like fall camp, right? Even like Camp T, what you see is not always what you get.
Yeah.
Right. And you also aren't allowed to see everything either, you know? And so when we talk about these things, we might say like, hey, Cutter Boley struggled in this area, or hey, the offensive line looked like this, or hey, this is the rotation of the defensive line. Well, come August,
Yeah.
could be completely different.
Could be.
And it could just be they're working out the kinks and figuring things out right now. Like Sam Levitt looked like a completely different player, not just in practice to the games, but in fall camp.
Exactly.
To
From
the
the
game.
start of spring football to where he was at week one.
A completely different
Yeah.
player. And so it's important as like a disclaimer for people when we're talking about this, that yes, what we're talking about is important. It is important that spring football is back. It is great to get a first look at these positions, at these players, and we'll go through specifics here soon. But if somebody doesn't look the best right now, or somebody looks like a world beater right now, at the end of the day, and we'll hear about consistency later, like consistency is what matters, not just through the practices, but once you actually get on the field.
Well, you always get to spring football, and we were chatting it up, me and some media members pre-practice of who's the all spring guy, right? Who are the odds for that? Because every year it feels like
down?
that. My two that I had AJ Ia,
My guy.
as one, and then
And so I'm assuming this is like not like a star.
this is just somebody that, like, for example, right? Last year was Jaron Hamilton, right? We went back and Jaron Hamilton had an amazing spring, and it was like, oh my gosh, they could have two wide receivers go over 1,000 yards.
Refer back to what I just said.
Exactly. It's not the end all be all, right? 2 years before that, it was Melquan Stovall, right? Where it's like,
Which
oh
is
my
a little
gosh.
bit more of a translation, yeah.
Right. They look incredible. And more often than not, it's wide receivers, it's tight ends, it's running backs.
Skill position play.
Exactly. That when you're not running against a full defense with pads, right? It really is just athleticism and kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, and
right?
it's easier to analyze those things in these types of drills and situations than it is like, hey, this tackle is going to get down and dirty in the trenches. Like it's a harder thing to judge in a situation like that.
And they haven't put pads on, right? They'll put pads on in a couple days, and then I think you can get to that point of, you know, realistically, okay, where are players trending, in what direction, who looks good, who doesn't, who needs to work on some things here or there. But what you do get kind of already through this first day of practice is like who is dominating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who stands kind of above the rest early on. And that for me is a good benchmark, is if you're out there on day one competing like this, odds are, if you are who you think you are, if you are who you say you are, if you are who the coaches think you are, then realistically you are going to be somebody to kind of look out for throughout the rest of spring ball.
Give me one name. Who dominated day one of spring ball for Arizona State?
In my mind, oh man, who dominated day one? Oh man, Owen Long.
Okay.
Owen Long already looks like he is going to be a badass for this Arizona
Which
State
makes
defense.
sense for those who don't know who Owen Long is, the top linebacker in the transfer portal.
Yeah. I mean, somebody who led the NCAA in tackles just last season from Colorado State. He's not necessarily the biggest linebacker in the world in terms of height, right? He is a stocky linebacker. He's quicker than I think people would give him credit for, and he is super instinctual, right? Which is something you need to have from one of your linebackers, especially in the system where you're running a 4-2-5 and you only have 2 linebackers out there. You need somebody who can kind of play all over the field, and he did just that. Especially, it's difficult when you have a linebacker and you're running these 7-on-7s and they don't have pads on, right? Where you can't get a full look at, okay, what does this player do in run fits? What do they do in run defense? How do they kind of spread themselves out? But Owen Long today in 7-on-7s and indies and everything, in my mind, looked the part of a day one starting linebacker for Arizona State. And I think that says a whole hell of a lot, considering that this room is fresh off of 2 guys in Keyshawn Elliott and Jordan Crook that played at a really high level. This is a room that's got Cyrus Fiaseyu back. It was nice to see him running around. Obviously, somebody who missed pretty much the majority of last season with an injury. So it was good to see him out there. Martell Hughes looks gigantic. It
might be a big season for Martell Hughes.
But all 3 of those linebackers, like already on day one, it's like I can see the picture. I can see the vision of like, okay, Owen Long, you have somebody in Martell Hughes who continues to prove and grow every single time we see him. And then, of course, you have Cyrus, who's a veteran out there as well. So like the picture is already starting to get a little bit clear kind of into what this linebacker room could look like as a rotation. But yeah, I would say Owen Long stood out to me, and somebody that I imagine is only going to continue to stand out as practices really roll around.
Now give me an offensive player.
Yeah, of course you were going for an offensive player. I think in terms of just stood out, I'm not going to say dominated. Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller stood out to me.
Why?
He's a big mofo. I can't say I can't say it all. How many Totri? At least 2.5 Totris.
Okay.
At least 2.5 Totris. He is a massive human being. And not massive in the sense of like a Marcuston Douglas, who was here several years ago, right?
The Rhino.
The baby Rhino. This is somebody that he's got a tight end number, wearing 85 out there. Just a big dude, man, that looks, it was tough in my mind to go into this season, specifically spring ball, and look at these tight ends and be like, okay, you added, Landon Myrie, who, true freshman. You added an Anthony Miller. You added a Christian Ingman. Like, in my mind, it's like, it's AJ Ea, right? Like, AJ Ea, Kamari Anderson, they were both here last year. AJ Ea is just a monster of a human being.
AJ is, I think, if you polled, like, the Sun Devil diehards who are, like, aware of kind of incoming for, like, AJ is, I think, probably in the top 3 picks for young guys in any position that end up taking a big leap this year.
Anthony Miller is just as big, if not bigger. Like he looks like a grown man out there, which again, like, it's college football.
He kind of is.
He looks that part. And I put it in the diehard Discord. Like, Jason Mons told him, man, you're a big dude without even having pads on, right? And like, he is that big, somebody that in this offense, and it kind of goes back to what Kenny said in the cold open. This is the biggest and longest team that he has had at Arizona State, and it looks that way, not just in the tight end room, but in pretty much every single room on this roster.
Yeah, and it's a necessity, right? I mean, I know that we're talking about things that happened a little bit of time ago, but one of the things that really stands out for me from being at the Big 12 championship game a couple seasons ago and looking at Iowa State, who was a really good football team, and looking at Arizona State, who is one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And Arizona State dwarfed Iowa State on the sidelines. Like, they were so much bigger than them. And I think, ASU was a big team last year, but
they were still smaller than Texas Tech. I remember being out there when Tech was here.
Yeah, and Texas Tech, again, if you're talking about, like, competing with the best of this conference and the oil money, like,
I'm pretty sure they just pump oil straight into their players.
Into the veins? Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Texas Tech, we're on the sidelines. Like, Texas Tech was massive.
They were big.
Right? And I think that there's this understanding of, in order to compete nowadays, and also, like, this is a team that was decimated by injuries last year.
Yeah.
Bigger, stronger guys usually are a little bit more durable as well. Now, obviously, there's potentials for injuries with everybody, right? But if you could choose to have a smaller roster, quicker, twitchier, maybe more quote-unquote athletic roster versus a bigger one, and say which one of these is going to be able to withstand a grueling college football season with thousands of miles of travel, thousands of hours of practice, you pick the bigger one.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And I am glad that I think something they targeted in the portal was a lot of beef.
Yeah, this is football. Size matters, right?
Yes.
That's just the way that
The only thing in life where size matters.
Yes, for sure, for sure. I have an answer now.
Thanks for back-
Yeah, of course, man, of course. I have an answer now. I have an answer now because you asked who dominated, right?
Yeah.
And I gave you one on defense. I gave you kind of a cop out.
chickened out on offense.
I have one. I have one that will 1000% surprise people on who dominated on the first day of spring football on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to tell you who it was on the other side of our first break. We talk a lot here at PHNX about saving money and managing your money, but sometimes that can be difficult, especially when the weather starts to change here in the Valley, because at your home, at your apartment, or wherever you're at, you are constantly changing the thermostat. And by the end of the month, well, you don't really have a consistent gauge as to what you're going to be paying on a monthly basis, but that is not the case with APS, because we all have those times in life when we need to stick to a budget, whether you're saving up for something big or you need all your monthly bills to be predictable. To help you out with that, APS has their budget billing program. When APS customers sign up for budget billing, your payment is averaged out over the full year so that you pay about the same for your energy bill every single month. That gives you a more predictable payment, so you know exactly what you are going to have to pay at the end of the month. It helps you plan and it helps you save. Of course, you can learn more about budget billing and all of APS's other options for managing your bill at aps.com/let's talk. Again, the weather is starting to change. Don't let that impact your APS monthly bill. Make sure you find all your options to manage your bill at aps.com/let's talk.
Now, you love your AC to be reliable, but you need a lot more to be reliable in life. And when life is at its most unreliable, like an accident or a serious injury, you've got to call the most reliable. Mark and Alexis Breyer. Have I said the word reliable?
You have a couple times.
Let me say the word guarantee.
Wow, okay.
Because Mark and Alexis Breyer, they guarantee. They don't just say this is going to happen and then, you kind of got to go through these back channels and it's the fine print. No, they absolutely 100% guarantee that you can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason, that you'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they reduce their attorney's fee to do so. Plus, they guarantee that you may speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything you'd like to discuss, and they guarantee they will always tell you the strengths and the weaknesses of your legal case so that you can make the most informed decision, not just the decision that's going to make them the most money. Because not only do they not care as much about making all the money in the world and bleeding your pockets dry, they also care about representing you the right way. They're experienced, they're specialized, so if you've had an injury...
And they're reliable.
In case you didn't know. Call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website, the link in our show notes, and tell them that PHNX sent you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and become a member today. And today is the best time to become a member.
The best time.
Just $5 to be a member. You get access, of course, to exclusive emojis. You get an exclusive badge next to your name. Your app becomes green in the chat. And you get a prepaid super chat every month that you renew. And you get exclusive content on our channel. You can see all the members-only videos. And Anthony Totri is doing a members-only spring football practice recap video. And you got to watch it.
Every single practice.
Every single practice.
Every single practice.
Every single
Gonna be
practice.
Doing out those videos again, only to members only. So again, I would highly get in on that. Believe it or not, we can only talk about so much for an hour. So I'm saving some of the real fun stuff for those member only videos. So again, $5 a month. Make sure you sign up to become a member today.
And we have, I know you're watching us right now, and that's great. And please keep watching us. But we also have a watch along going on right now for the first day of March Madness. In case you didn't know, it's March Madness. So a bunch of people in the office are kind of cycling in and out. Yeah. Here's a March Madness update for you.
Tell me.
So Duke is up 1 point.
Okay.
Siena with a couple minutes left.
Nice.
And a kid from Siena just went to go intercept a pass, kind of like tipped it out and then fell out of bounds, and his face smacked on the LED.
Oh no!
Like sideline, bang.
It's a bad omen.
Yeah, it was tough. He just the whole side of his face, bop.
I mean, this is March.
This hashtag. This
is
March. Just a little March Madness update for you. But back to the important stuff.
The important stuff.
You said,
spring football.
Totri,
yes,
that there was somebody who dominated on the offensive side of the ball.
There was,
and it's not somebody that we would expect.
No.
Can I guess?
You can guess now.
Braden Vinesbray.
No, but he did have a good day. Okay. I was pleasantly surprised.
That wouldn't know. Man.
No, no, not man.
Aikman.
It was in the wide receiver room.
In the wide receiver room, give me Harry Hassman.
No,
He's
considering
injured. That's
he's
right.
injured. No,
I
he
mean,
didn't-
hey,
he
you
didn't
said it was
stand
somebody
out.
that we
He
wouldn't
didn't-
expect.
You're right. That would definitely be a surprise. No, it was
Okay. Who?
wide receiver Uriah Naloms. Exactly. Somebody that is a redshirt freshman. He's a local kid out of Gilbert, 6'4", 215 pounds. Somebody that dominated at the wide receiver position in 7-on-7s, in team drills, and indie drills. I was surprised. That's not a knock on him, but mainly when you're looking at the wide receiver room this year at Arizona State, you're looking almost at everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Not really the younger wide receivers, but this is somebody that had one play specifically in team at the end of practice where he mossed a DB, had the whole offense running down there, freaking out. A big 30-yard catch. Mikey Keene was running down there, celebrating, jumping up and down. Uriah had a really, really good day. I'm excited to see if he can bring that level of energy and level of juice every single practice.
Can you describe how he plays? Because obviously this is not somebody that we've watched.
This is somebody that in my mind fits kind of the bill of a Reed Harris. Right, he's bigger.
Two Reed Harrises.
He's bigger, right? 6'4", 215 pounds. He's a taller wide receiver.
As a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman. He's a perimeter guy. Somebody that wins the contested catches, kind of like Z-Man is putting in the chat. Somebody that will go get you those 50-50 balls. 50-50 balls aren't usually that when it comes to those 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers. And again, Arizona State kind of has their jump ball guys already kind of set in stone with somebody like a Reed Harris. But if you can have somebody like a Uriah, a homegrown guy that, again, was at Arizona State last year as a true freshman, that would be huge. I think the thing that tends to hurt some of these lengthier wide receivers, especially somebody at 6'4", is their releases, right? It's sometimes tough to separate if you don't have elite speed off of the line of scrimmage. And I'm not going to say that Uriah has elite speed. I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched enough of what he does in practice to go out there and say that he has that right now. But what he does have is that contested catch ability. So that's how he beats guys, right? That's how he beats those DBs, is he goes out there and he makes life super easy for quarterbacks because it's like, hey, I'm going to just throw you a jump ball, you go win, right?
Yep.
And especially if you're able to do that against this Arizona State secondary, it would have been one thing to do it a couple years ago, but this DB room is lengthy. They are big, they are tall, they are fast, they are athletic. So for Uriah to have that type of day today really stuck out to me.
Okay. Let's talk about the other wide receivers.
Let's talk about
as much as I'm intrigued.
Clayton Smith, is that where you want to go?
I'm intrigued. Well, I mean, we could talk about Clayton Smith, but let's be honest here, right? There are two headliners for spring football. There's two headliners for ASU. There's two headliners for the transfer portal.
Yeah.
It was Amarian Miller and it was Reed Harris. Let's start with Amarian Miller. How did Amarian Miller look out there today?
The most talented wide receiver in the Big 12. It's point blank, period. I don't know if you've seen a video yet on social media. They were running one-on-ones against some of the DBs. And he ran just a crisp route, caught it, and was looking back at him, looking back at the DB the entire time. And it cuts to Hines
I appreciate
Ward.
You not naming the DBs.
Yeah. It cuts to Hines Ward, and Hines Ward is just running down. He's like, why'd you look at him like that? You didn't have to look at him like that. He looks like he is going to be a fun weapon for whoever ends up being QB1 for Arizona State, as good as advertised on day one. I think the thing that you look at more so with somebody like a Omarion Miller is how they are really going to get down and dirty in terms of run blocking, right? And of course, kind of goes back to how we started the show. It's tough to get a good gauge when you only have, when you're not in pads, right? On the first day of practice. That's something that I think you'll start to really see and be able to evaluate a little bit more as spring practices go. But he looks athletic. He's got some bounce to him, reminiscent, of course, of a Jordan Tyson level of athleticism. I'm not going to say day one that he's Jordan Tyson by any means, but in terms of like that athletic type of wide receiver that will be able to separate, can run any route in the route tree. I'm excited to see how they move them all across the formation, because that is something I think in today's day and age of not only college football, but pro football as well. Like if you have somebody as talented as a Jordan Tyson, if you have somebody like an Omarion Miller, you kind of, cut yourself off if you just stick them out on the perimeter, especially when in today's day and age, you can kind of really get mismatches pre-snap with motions. So Omarion Miller is somebody that I think you're going to see a lot of that from. in 2026. And I think you'll see a lot from Reed Harris kind of doing the same thing.
Well, then tell me about Reed Harris. I think when you look at these two, it's very clear. It's like, okay, one's the big guy, one's the smaller guy. What was it from Reed Harris that stuck out to you?
He's the big guy. He's huge. He is absolutely massive out there. Arizona State, there are tall wide receivers and there are big wide receivers, right? Kind of the same thing with college basketball centers, right? There are tall guys and then there are big guys. Reed Harris is a big guy. He's the type of wide receiver that you look at immediately. I think of like a Vincent Jackson type of build, RIP. Somebody that has bounce to him, somebody that I just have a strong inkling is going to be able to pancake some DBs out there. Because again, we're talking about somebody that is 6'5". He looks every bit of 6'5" out there. But again, kind of what I mentioned with Uriah earlier, something that you tend to lose with some of those big wide receivers. I think of a guy like Troy O'Meary or even a Malik McLean at times, right? Is you're super tall.
Watch it.
You're super tall, but
Watch
you're
it.
not big,
Hey.
right? You're not big and you can't necessarily run away from those DBs, right? So you're kind of capped at what your skill set is. It's I'm the big guy. I'm going to go win the jump ball. I'm going to be a possession type of wide receiver across the middle. Give me a 12-yard catch. I'm not going to get you any yak after that. That's not what I see with Reed Harris. I see somebody, again, that has speed, has athleticism, has a good release package. Somebody that, again, like if I'm a defensive coordinator and I have to game plan for Arizona State, I mean, I'm up all night long because I look to one side and I see O'Marion Miller, and then I look to the other side and I see Reed Harris, and it's two guys that you would think would beat you in two different ways, right? You think O'Marion would beat you with speed and athleticism, and you think Reed would beat you with just size, right? That's not the case. I think both of them can beat you in the same type of way, which is a absolute pain in the ass if you are a defensive coordinator in this conference. If I'm a DC right now in the Big 12, I'm studying and figuring it out now because you're going to need longer than 7 days prep to figure out how to stop these two.
Well, and I think what also people kind of confuse is because, yeah, you're right, Totri. They're going to have to do a lot of prep. What do you stop them? That also makes coaches overthink.
Yeah.
Right? And when you overthink and when you know that your opponent's going to overthink and they're looking at him and they're looking at him, well, guess who's the most dangerous guy sometimes? The third guy.
Yeah.
Right? Or the running backs, who we'll get to here in a little bit. Right? Like
that's going to be fun.
Or the tight ends. Like, you have these two clear-cut 1 and 2 options that could do everything.
For sure.
Right? And of course, they're going to be the main focus because they're going to get the ball the most.
Yeah, they're the breadwinners here.
But these big, punchy plays that catch teams by surprise, it's the third guy. Yeah. And when you are so focused on those two, if you start focusing more on the third guy, then those two are going to kill you. And if those two are killing you and you focus too much on them, Arizona State has plenty of talented wide receivers. We talked about how few wide receivers they lost besides a Jordan Tyson who went to the draft. Retaining, obviously, like a Jaron Hamilton.
Literally, they retained everybody else. I think Akeem Laneu was the only wide receiver
and he was
that
practice
left,
squad.
right?
So, like, you have Jaron Hamilton and Jalen Moss and Derek Eusebio, who's injured right now, but he'll be back in time. Maybe Harry Haspin finds his way into the conversation.
Corey Butler was getting run today. Plas Johnson was back today.
Right.
Like, this is a wide receiver
And your
room.
most dominant
Uriah. Like, there's a room full of talented wide receivers.
And Clayton Smith,
who was surprisingly enough running with wide receivers.
He looked pretty smooth, dude.
He was running with wide receivers, not tight ends. I thought he was going to be running more with tight ends.
Not running back, not fullback.
No, he was running 1,000% of his day with the wide receivers. And I want to say it was Hines Ward or it was somebody else where they were running just against air. It was quarterbacks throwing to the wide receivers, and he had dropped, I think, a back shoulder or something. And Hines or one of the coaches had come up to him. He's like, dude, if you're not sacking quarterbacks, you better catch that damn football. Like, you got to find a way to figure it out. And he's right? I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw from Clayton. Again, I think he's going to be, this is not a knock on Clayton at all, but I think if he's going to play wide receiver, it's going to be in a gadget kind of sense. It's not going to be like an everyday 1st and 10 type of wide receiver.
He's not your third.
No, he's not. He's not your fourth, your fifth, your sixth either. There's too many guys.
Harris,
no,
Miller and Smith.
No, it's not that. And again, I think realistically, I see Clayton Smith playing more again of both sides of the ball, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. More as a gadget kind of wide receiver in those jump ball scenarios, short yardage scenarios maybe, and then primarily probably going to play on defense. Again, it's early. Right, yeah. Super early, so things can trend in a different direction. But yeah, he looked smooth out there. At post practice, there were I want to say it was a Marion Winston potentially. I could be wrong on that. But there were defensive ends and edge rushers talking with Clayton post practice about kind of certain things on the defensive line. And he, of course, I mean, just a player in person that he is, staying after practice, helping them, guiding them. But those are the things that you gain with having somebody like Clayton Smith come back for another season. And he's not necessarily somebody that's going to be taking practice reps away from defensive ends and edge guys, because he is ultimately, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he does. Enough about the guys catching the ball. Can we talk about...
You talk about the guys throwing the ball?
Talk about the guys throwing the ball.
The guys throwing the ball, man, the quarterbacks. Oh, you're going to do it.
On the other side of our second break.
I got a little surprise the other day from our friends over at Circle K. I needed gas, stopped at my local Circle K location, and you know gas prices are through the roof. But of course, I am a member of Inner Circle. It's Circle K's free membership program. It wasn't even an Inner Circle fuel day, and I saved 20 cents off per gallon just for being an Inner Circle.
Is that even legal?
Member? I don't know, but they are offering savings and deals on the daily. But you do have to be a member of Inner Circle. Again, it's a free membership program. It takes like 30 seconds to enroll. It doesn't cost you anything at any point to be an Inner Circle member. Go to the App Store, download the app, enter your email and phone number, and that is it. That is all you have to do to start cashing in on those deals and on those savings. But it's not exclusive to gas. Of course, they've got great deals on snacks and drinks as well. You just have to go stop by a Circle K location. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading that Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Make sure you visit circlek.com for details.
I don't know if you heard this, but from the windows to the walls, Window Depot's got it all.
Yeah,
and I want introducing flooring now, but it's not just flooring and windows. It's windows, doors, skylights, cabinets, countertop, sinks, flooring, and more. In stock and ready for pickup at the Window Depot. The best price with the biggest inventory, of course, Arizona made and locally trusted with 7 locations across the valley. Contractors and homeowners love the Window Depot for bigger, larger scale projects, or just the DIY kings and queens out there who want to go and just do a little side project. Just build a little something. Window Depot, no membership required. Whatever quantity you need, they have it. You can shop online or pick up in store, and if you need a custom order, well, guess what? They're going to help you out with that as well. Plus, in-house designers ready to help you plan your space at no extra cost. Window Depot, much more than just a window store. Visit thewindowdepot.com. Get started on your next project today, or stop by one of the Window Depot's 7 Arizona locations. See for yourself why they're way more than just a window store. You can do way more than just watching this video. You can like it. You can hit the subscribe button if you're listening on audio. 5-star reviews. We don't say that as much anymore as we should. 5-star reviews if you're listening on audio. And if you want to watch little Suns basketball, a little March Madness with the PHNX Suns
tonight,
come out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos pretty soon, actually. 5 o'clock tip-off. Suns Spurs.
Congrats on an early tip.
Yeah, pregame before they've been so
wow. Wemby's back. Wemby's back to haunt your nightmares.
We've held them to 13 points per game this season.
We
did it.
Great
Joe.
defense, Eric.
We did it. Here's the thing. The Suns need a win, and we need you to show up. Gila River Resorts Casinos, Wild Horse Pass, pregame at 4:30. Game starts at 5. Come hang out with us. We have a special menu. We've got good times. Come watch some basketball with the PHNX Suns crew. Go to phnx.com/events to find out all the details.
Yeah, Brandon says these guys just go straight into football while March Madness is going on. See ya, Bobby. Oof.
What do you want us to talk about? Duke beating Siena?
Maybe we can talk about, you want to talk about Marcus Adams Jr. entering?
And oh, no.
That's it. That's all there is to discuss about
it. I mean, Vanderbilt up 5 on McNeese, Arkansas up 11 on Hawaii, and Michigan State up 15 on North Dakota State. That good enough?
That sounds good for my bracket, all of those.
Hawaii.
I don't think so.
Hawaii.
Okay.
Anyways,
Razorbacks over the Rainbow Warriors.
Quarterbacks. No Razorbacks. Quarterbacks.
Yeah, the quarterbacks. This is the thing that I'll say off rip here. And I say this as a smaller man, okay?
Okay.
Mikey Keene's a little guy. I mean that respect. I mean that.
You can't say little guy in this.
I mean that respectfully.
How many Totris?
1.
Oh no!
1.25 Totri.
Okay.
1.25 Totri.
You gotta have more than one Totri.
Yeah.
That's Diego Pavia.
What I will say, and I think this is just based off of how the rest of the quarterback room is, I think it's because Cutter is so tall that he just like dwarfs all of the other quarterbacks, which is just how it is in this room. There are 4 quarterbacks out there. Butter Tollefson has officially moved to wide receiver. So that's out there. He had a nice little catch today, running away from a DB today. So I love that for him. Don't love that for the DB when a former quarterback's running away from you.
But okay, let's be honest. The name Butter is a way better wide receiver nickname than it is quarterback nickname.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Like, oh, that route was smooth as butter.
I mean, sure. Yeah. Hands as smooth as butter.
Maybe, you know what? I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'm totally wrong.
The quarterbacks looked good today. Cutter is of course the guy that everybody wants to watch because he's a Kentucky transfer. A lot of folks think that he's going to be QB1, and I do think he is the edge right now to be the day one starting quarterback. I do think this is going to be a true competition between all four of the guys, if I'm being completely honest with you. It was nice to see Cam Dyer out there today. He, for some reason, looks taller, looks bigger. Maybe it's because he doesn't have the knee brace on anymore.
Knee brace is off?
Which is, it's the knee brace.
Wow, that's actually
today.
big. That's actually big news.
So that was the first thing that really stood out to me with Cam. Again, he's got a strange throwing motion in my mind. It's just non-traditional, so that's always something that is interesting to see. Jake Fetty was throwing some pretty passes.
Yeah?
He's got some pretty passes. I think it's probably too early still to be ready for Fetty. I think there were still some moments today, and it's day one. He's a true freshman quarterback, where the timing was just a little bit off, throwing some passes kind of behind a couple wide receivers. But again, like that's something that he'll get acclimated to, is the speed of the game and the timing. But Mikey Keene looked good. Mikey Keene, despite being outsized by Cutter Boley, looked good. Somebody that we know is a cerebral quarterback. He's played in college football a lot. He's the one that threw that pretty pass to Uriah, who came down and mossed a DB. So somebody that, again, like in my mind, this is Cutter's job to lose. But if he does stumble a day or two, Mikey Keene will be right there. He will 1,000% be right there to compete at a high rate in this quarterback competition. And then, of course, there's Cutter, right? Cutter did throw a pick six today to Owen Long. He's the one that threw it to Owen. I will say Owen jumped the pass, so that's not totally on Cutter. There was a point Owen just is a dog and he makes those type of plays.
It wasn't a hospital ball.
No, not by any means. Cutter looked good. He's the one, like Zeman says, that threw that crosser to O'Marion, who was running away from guys. So again, this is going to be a full-on competition, and I think this is a closer competition that people want to give it credit for. And it's not because one of the guys is worse than the other. It's because you have a talented former SEC quarterback in Cutter Boley. You have a true freshman quarterback in Jake Fetty, who is seemingly as good and as athletic as advertised. Cam Dyer's been in the system, and then you have Mikey Keene, who's been in college football a long time at a bunch of different places.
You have four different types of quarterbacks.
You do, and I think all four of them are super fun. I'm excited to see when pads get on, and these offenses kind of start to click together. What these guys truly look at, but it's way too early to really get into, what are these quarterbacks looking like on day one.
So let's get into how the running backs look.
Kenny wasn't lying when he said that this is going to be the room with the most competition.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out most to me today about the running backs, and I didn't expect this, Carde Mack.
Ooh.
Carde Mack, his lower true freshman. His lower half, his quads, his legs, like he looks like Maurice Jones-Drew type of build. Like he is somebody that has the lower body of somebody that you would want in short yardage situations. Somebody that is not going to be, tackled and stopped by one Big 12 linebacker. He could get some run his freshman season. He has got that type of build. David Avett looks as big as advertised as well. You kind of saw that coming from Villanova. Man, of course, is out there running around doing his thing. Somebody that you're accustomed to seeing is more like a scat back as well. But, of course, all eyes on Kyson Brown being back and being healthy out there. That was really good to see. But this running back,
Marquise Gillis?
No Marquise Gillis out there. Like Kenny said, he's going to probably miss the first couple of days. Doesn't sound like it's going to be anything major. It sounds like he'll be on track to get back soon with the team. But this running back room, man, is going to be fun with all the different weapons you have out there. Grayson Rigdon, all sleeved up now.
Okay.
He's got a sleeve on his left arm.
Okay.
So
the Totri method.
The Totri method. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this running back room. Z-Man asking about Jason Brown Jr. Jason Brown Jr., man, looks like Jason Brown Jr.
That's good news.
Yeah, it is. Somebody that, again, is just like, he's just always smiling. And that didn't change today. This running back room has got a lot of dudes in it. and they are going to compete. This is going to be a room that has a lot of competition, and get ready to see a running back room this season that you didn't see last year. You saw a running back room last year that was like uber athletic in a way of like players running away from you, right? In the Raleek Brown sense of like, I'm just more athletic. I'm faster than you. I'm more agile than you. I'm going to make some cuts and I'm going to move. I think the running backs you're getting here in 2026 are we're going back to the Cam Scadaboo days where I'm going to run through a mofo's face.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of running back build you have now. And I think that goes along with the sense of Kenny saying, hey, we're a bigger team. We're a longer team. We're a more athletic team. I think this offense and the fan base saw it with Cam is like he got scarier as the game went on, right? First quarter, it's fine. I'll deal with you. Second quarter, all right. Third, fourth quarter, I'm tired of hitting this guy. Right?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely.
He's not slowing down.
No, it takes 2, 3, 4 guys to bring him down. And that's the type of build that you have in these running backs. Again, I didn't expect Cardi Mack to look the way that he looked. Like he is somebody that looks like I am going to run through you, which is, I think, kind of a nod to like, hey, we want to get back to being a gritty, tough, grinded out type of football team.
Well, and that's a lot easier to play consistent football that way too, right? We talk about, hey, we want Arizona State to be more consistent on offense, to be better in short yard situations. And like Raleek Brown was so talented and Sam Levitt was so talented.
Yeah.
Right? But it was like, okay, man, we need 3 yards.
Yeah.
Can you just
run forward?
Right up the middle?
Run forward.
Usually the answer was no. And that's why we were like, where's Kanye Udo, right? And obviously for whatever
Or hell,
reason,
where was Jason Brown Jr.?
Right. So I'm encouraged by that kind of play style. I still think there's probably going to be a cream of the crop, like somebody who gets a lot of those shares, but I think how they run is going to be different, and that's going to be really important.
Yeah.
Put a bow on the offense here, Totri.
Yes.
Did your mind change about anything on offense? A player, a unit, anything that you saw from day one of spring football?
I think the thing that I saw the most on offense that really stuck out to me outside of Anthony Miller being gigantic was Raiden Vinesbright. Somebody that was running, again, with the ones, whatever that means in spring football, right? Again, you got the maroon, the gold, and the white teams. I think for me, somebody that there was an early expectation when he transferred here of like, okay, he's somebody that could develop into somebody that's going to get run, right? Similar to like a Jalen Moss or a Jaron Hamilton when they first came to Arizona State. I think Raiden Vinesbright is further along in that process than Jaron and Jalen were when they got here. It's not a knock on those guys. I think Raiden is just a somebody that was a slept-on wide receiver during the transfer portal season because it was like, hey, look at these new flashy weapons we got in Omarion Miller and Reed Harris. Raiden Vinesbright, any other year, would be somebody that you're talking about super, super highly that is going to compete on the daily to get run on offense. And I think, again, it's going to be tough to keep Raiden off the field. But, again, this is a wide receiver room that is just packed to the brim full of talent and size and speed and athleticism. So this wide receiver room, the running back room, the tight end room, like this is, it's one thing to be like, hey, we're going to have competition everywhere, right? Like, yeah, like, nah, there is competition everywhere, especially on the offensive side of the field of like, okay, I don't know who's tight end 1 right now. I don't know who that third wide receiver is right now. I don't know who your starting 5 on the offensive line is right now. I don't even know who your starting quarterback is going to be at this point in time. I can give you educated guesses, right, based off of X, Y, and Z, but at this point in time, it truly is a competition all over the field, and that's what you want, especially on day 1 of spring football.
Yeah, well, we've talked about all over the field on one side of the ball. We'll talk a little defense and then hear from Kenny Dillingham, as much as I love hearing from you, Anthony Totri, hear from Kenny Dillingham as well on the other side of our final break.
Look, normally I'm talking about a big UFC card where I'm posted up on my couch indulging in pure edibles, but come on, it's March. You have college basketball running rampant, you do, and that is the perfect time to indulge in pure edibles, whether you want the uplifting effects or maybe you just want to mellow out and chill. Of course, Pure Edibles, they have it all, and they stand out from the crowd because their gummies, well, they taste like candy, and it's because Pure is a full-fledged candy company offering gummies. They've got Kicks, which are their version of Starburst. They've got Chews, which are soft candies like caramel, and then hard candies as well. In Pure, they clearly list their effects on each tin so you know exactly what effects you guys can expect. And hey, maybe you're somebody that doesn't want to indulge in the uplifting effects of Pure Edibles Don't sweat it. They've got sleep support gummies as well. If you have a tough time sleeping, make sure you go check them out, because I can only tell you how great they are before you actually just go try them for yourself. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
Totri, close your eyes.
Okay?
Noah, close your eyes. If you're listening, if you're watching, close your eyes.
Unless you're driving.
Close one eye. And imagine that you're walking into Mountain America Stadium on a game day, ASU football taking on Morgan State. And you're looking to your left and you're looking to your right, even though I looked the opposite direction there for a second. And what do you see on everybody's heads?
Can I open my eyes?
No, it's branded Bills hats, because branded Bills has gear to make you stand apart from the crowd, even though everybody in the crowd is wearing branded Bills hats, because they have partnerships, of course, with Arizona State University and 40 universities across America. And on top of that, they partner with the Phoenix Suns. And on top of that, they partner with us, and they could partner with you, because when you need custom snapbacks, truckers, fitted beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. Emphasis on the performance part, because the style, we all know, you see it, but what you feel is the performance, the lightweight, the great durability of it. You can wear it when you're going on a hike, when you're going on a run, when you're podcasting, when you're going around town. It looks nice, it feels nice, and it's not stupidly expensive. They're a local company out of Mesa, Arizona. You can get it for even cheaper. Head to brandedbills.com. Use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. That's brandedbills.com. Use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button again, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Rubus, it is March.
It is March. Time to march on over to the defense. I'll tell you, nobody cares about March Madness over here. We're talking about football, so we'll dive more on football tomorrow.
Yeah, and
football,
on the member-only video.
Defense tomorrow, and the member-only video, which make sure you're a member today. But I want to ask you the same question that I asked you last on offense, just to briefly touch on defense here. Did your mind change about anything on the defensive side of the ball after day one of spring practice?
I don't know if my mind had changed, but when we had Brian Carrington in here and we had that long hour-long discussion with him, something that stuck out to me about that conversation was he said it looked like they had a basketball team out there in the secondary. And I mean, confirm. Sources tell me that is true. This is a ginormous secondary, specifically Ashton Stamps. Ashton Stamps is long. He is big for a corner. Somebody that I would, again, if I had to put money on it, is a day one corner. You're not just transferring from LSU to Arizona State, and they're not giving you the number one if you're not going to be somebody that plays consistently. He looks good. I'm excited for this fan base to see what Ashton Stamps can be. I think he has the potential to be one of the best Arizona State corners in the last half decade, just based off of raw talent, size, potential, speed, all those things. So I don't know if anything changed, but I think more so like that was confirmed that this wasn't just BC up here giving his guys some love. Like this is a big, long secondary, which is exactly kind of what you want, especially in this conference, right?
I'm looking at the DB room sort of similarly to the way that I'm looking at the wide receiver room. Obviously, you don't have your Reed Harris or Marion Miller, but
I think you do. I think you have your Lyric Rawls.
I mean, but like not like, okay, these are like two. Lyric Rawls is great. Ashton Stamps is great. Those were not two guys that were the top 5 at their position in the portal, right? So that's what I'm saying, right? But I agree with you in the sense of like you are bringing in a lot of talent. I think that this secondary is so much more spread out and deeper than it was last year. You lose Keith Abney, that's your one, right? And you lost Jordan Tyson, that's your one. There's not a player on the wide receiver room that's Jordan Tyson, even though as much as we love O'Marion and Reed Harris, there's no Jordan Tyson, and there's no Keith Abney, right? The least that we know of as of right now in that secondary.
Yeah.
But I feel so much more comfortable about the depth of the secondary. And that includes, returning Rodney Bimage. I know that was like a
He was out there today.
That was like a whole thing.
He was barking today, man. He was
Rodney Bimage is barking?
He was
no way.
He was getting into the face of some of these wide receivers early. He's somebody that I think is like staking his claim right now of like, hey, I'm that dude. I'm that guy here. I've been here before. Everybody else is gone. This is kind of my role to earn. And I mean, he was matched up with Reed Harris for a lot of the day, and he was holding his own.
And so that's kind of the thing with me where I'm looking at this DB room and I'm like, okay, maybe there isn't like the guy in Keith Abney that's like, you're going to be the best in the conference, right? Yeah. And maybe there is, maybe it Stamps,
it's
maybe
still,
it's Lyric.
still early.
Like it's still early, but you knew what you were getting with Keith coming in.
Yeah.
Right? but I do feel like the depth, because outside of Keith, it did feel like, Javen had his struggles. I think that sometimes he was unfairly criticized because he was targeted so much because he was playing opposite of Keith Abney, that it's like, well, of course we're going to target you, Javen Robinson, and we're going to find you out of position a couple times over the season and you're going to look like crap, right? Because that's just the nature of the position that you play. But
the hardest position, one of the hardest positions in sports.
Yeah, and you make 1/2 of a second of a mistake and you're a da-da-da, but on the opposite end. And so I really enjoy where this DB room has reshaped into, and where this whole secondary
literally reshaped.
Yeah, this whole secondary has reshaped into as well. Is Bimage the returner in that kind of secondary room that stood out to you the most today?
I would say Bimage in Montana.
Yeah.
Montana Warren.
I'm very interested and intrigued by what type of season Montana Warren has.
I am too. I'm interested to see where they play him, whether he's a safety or a nickel. Again, it's still pretty early to kind of identify who's going to be where as a true starter. But yeah, I would say Rodney Bimage, and then of course you have somebody in Montana Warren who's been here for quite some time. And Wes Beasy says it, tall DBs are going to help us a ton. And it's interesting because Bimage is not like the tallest DB in the world, right? I think he's listed at like 6 foot flat.
But he was taller than Keith and Javen. And that's why he kind of stood out.
1,000%. And again, today, like it's you're taller, odds are you're a little bit stronger, right?
Yeah.
That's just, again, kind of based off of like genetics. But like
you might be a little faster because
we're
not talking about like 6'8",
you got longer strides.
Right, yeah, you have longer strides, and you can also, again, when you go da-da-da, you make a 1/2 second mistake, it's a lot easier to recover as Bimage, who we saw Bimage do that a couple of times during the season where he did kind of make the wrong read or misstepped a little bit, but he was just a little bit bigger than Javen, so he was able to recover and make a play.
That's a big part of being a DB at this level is you're not going to always play every rep perfect, but you have to be able to recover when somebody beats you. Yeah. And I think Rodney Bimage is somebody, like you mentioned, last year we saw that kind of trend in that direction where, yeah, was he perfect at every rep? No, but he found ways to recover and made those types of plays. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? Nobody cares if you get beat off the line of scrimmage if you're able to recover and then make a play and have a PBU. Right now, of course, you don't want that to happen.
Sure.
And again, I think looking today at what Bimage was doing on the line of scrimmage, pressing some of these wide receivers as a bigger DB, as a stronger DB. I mean, anytime you have somebody like a Rodney Bimage going one-on-one with a Reed Harris, you're going to take Reed Harris, right? You're going to take the 6'5" wide receiver who has shown that they can do it. And again, Rodney Bimage, he held his own, and he was letting everybody know that, hey, this 6'5" wide receiver, I got him. I got him clamped. I got him locked down. Now, don't get it twisted. Like Reed Harris, he had his moments too. But that is for me, I think often back to last season of like it was Jordan Tyson and Keith Abney going back and forth. This in my mind is like, okay, I'm gonna be watching Reed Harris and Rodney Bimage go back and forth all spring.
And I think the great part about the depth in both of those rooms being a little bit, more fulfilled is it's not just going to be Jordan and Keith are going at it, right? It's going to be, okay, now it's like Marion and you and Eusebio and you, right? And Jeremy, like you have so many different options now of like this quote that I don't know if you know this, Noah, that I coined this and made this up. It's iron sharpens iron. And so I could see it. It blew your mind a little bit. I could see it.
Yeah, that was great. Wow.
Well, that just hurt.
Yeah, I mean, did you expect anything less?
You know what? I don't want to hear from Noah. You want to know who I want to hear from?
You want to hear from the guy?
I've been hearing from the guy. I want to hear from the other guy.
The other guy, Kenny Dillingham. Well, look, we've talked obviously a lot about day one of spring football, and we're going to continue to talk and monitor about everything that's going on over in Tempe for Arizona State spring football throughout the next month in change. But even though we love to see all the newcomers and everybody have a star-studded day one, Kenny Dillingham says not so fast. It's not just about day one.
It's day one. Everybody brings it day one. Like I told the guys in meetings, like, I'm not judging how you practice today. I'm not. I want to see how consistent you are. Whoever you are today, it's going to bother me if you're different day 7. Those are the guys that are going to bother me, because those are the guys that are different in the third quarter than they are the first quarter than they are the second quarter. So whatever you are today is the expectation I have for you every day. So if you're not a guy who can bring it every day, don't bring it all today. If you are a guy who can bring it every single day and have that mindset, set the expectation for what I'm going to see out of you today. You get to pick that. So I'm excited to see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to see that competition and mindset.
That is a man who saw what happened last year and said, okay, you want to know the number one word of this season is? Consistency.
Yeah, it is
Right?
consistency.
Consistency in your prep, consistency in your practice, consistency in your output, right? And, you know, I think a lot of people could fall into this in a lot of different like jobs and stuff. It's like, oh, it's the first day or it's the first day of school and you're paying attention in class and you got all your notebooks organized and you're taking notes and you're writing things down. And then, you know, you get a little later in the year, you're like,
Start to slack a little bit.
you know, it is what it is. Or maybe it's like day 2. You're like, oh, well, okay. So okay, this is day 2. Oh, okay. Right. Like, yeah, being able to show up and be the same person every day, no matter what job you're in, like that's really important. And that's what people value. If they know that like, hey, I'm going to go into work today and that person's going to be like this. Like I know Noah's going to be goofy, but I also know Noah's going to do a really good job.
Yeah.
Right. Trust me, we all know exactly what we're going to get when we walk into the office and we're talking to Noah. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so that establishing the standard and then also like, you know, how many times did Kenny Dillingham say last year, like, okay, we didn't put them in the right position, or maybe, you know, we need to get back to practicing harder. I don't expect to hear those two things.
No, Kenny got his juice
this year.
back today.
Yeah.
Kenny got his juice back today. There was one moment specifically where, and I'm not gonna tell you guys who it was, but they were hitting a bag, right? Just again, I think it was like field goal block or something like that, and he was the player was hitting a block.
Kenny's like, not this year.
Well, he was hitting a bag, right? You're not in pads, you're not anything. He's like, do it again. He's like, that way he hit it again. He's like, that's soft as baby shit. He's like, like you gotta hit the bag. If you can't hit the bag, then what are you doing out here? This is a violent game. Hit the bag. Same player did the rep 4 or 5 times. He's like, that's better, but he clearly wasn't satisfied with it, right? And that's something that, you know, maybe would have slid last year because you had so many vets back. You had so many guys where you're like, you trust them to make the plays in the game, but you don't necessarily hammer it home at practice, right? It's a tough line. It's a fine line that you have to walk as a coach in today's day and age of college football, where it's like you've got vets, but you also have to balance the fact that you trust them, and there's so many elements that go into it. So Kenny definitely he was barking at his players too of like, hey, there's a standard that needs to be met. And I would expect that same level of intensity and fire from Kenny and all the coaches really throughout spring football going into the fall.
Nobody came here because they thought it was going to be easy.
No.
Right. And like, again, Kenny's not the type of coach who's going to BS. He probably told these guys like, hey, I'm going to get on your ass if you're not doing what we need you to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is a team that's on a mission. Hopefully they can go and, you know, actually execute on the mission this year. Hopefully injuries allow them to do that. Hopefully they allow themselves to do that. But I feel good about this roster.
Yeah.
I feel great about the coaching staff. And I feel great about where Kenny is. It feels like Kenny is in, and we saw this in the press conference, it feels like Kenny's in the right mindset.
Yeah.
Right? He can focus more on coaching. The contract is taken care of. His assistant coaches are taken care of. He has a GM. He has a roster of guys who want to be here. And I mean, you look at it and you look at last year's roster and what's happened with that roster since then, and maybe there was some outside stressors. Maybe there were some things that distracted from what was going on the field. And I think that Kenny Dillingham is kind of, for such a young coach in his first half decade of coaching as a head coach here, he kind of almost feels like renewed.
He is, dude. He is. And there's that new juice. And I think having, you know, like you said, that contract stuff figured out, more money invested into the program.
He's secure, and he feels
and
like
everyone around him is secure too.
Everybody around him's secure. He's secure. And like, look, let's be honest here. Like, Kenny's been great, but he's a better coach now than he was 3 years ago.
For sure.
Right? And so now it's like, okay, well, I don't just have 1 season under my belt. I don't just have 2 seasons under my belt. I not only just have like these highs, but like I've now experienced almost everything in between. I experienced the super low lows, the highest of highs that you could possibly imagine for a second-year head coach. And then I experienced kind of a middle ground.
Yeah.
Right? So like now I've seen everything. I've had 3 different types of rosters, and now here I am going into spring football, year 4, and I feel fully prepared with my staff and my group that I believe in. How could you not be fired up about that?
And this coach is pushing these coaches are pushing these players not only on the field but off the field before practices really even started. I had somebody tell me like a week, 2 weeks before spring football, where there's coaches in the locker room and some of these players are, whether they were half-assing at a workout or whatever, and maybe not going 110%, where you got coaches being like, look at this, you're the biggest waste of $300,000 out there. Like just quit, just be done.
That's sick.
Like just pushing them
That's
to be the absolute best that they can be. And again, you got a bunch of young, hungry athletes out here that are like, okay, bet Bet. I'm the biggest waste to 300 grand. I'm the biggest waste of
Sure.
$500,000. I'll show you. Right?
We're gonna start calling each other that. He's the biggest waste of $300,000.
But legit, like you got coaches telling players this of like, let's go. You're making money. You're making serious money. There are players on this roster making over $1 million. Like you got to go out there and you got to show that you are
the Uno reverse card where it's like people are saying now with NIL, like, and maybe this is a big conversation to have like in the middle of June.
Yeah.
Where it's like, people are saying now like, oh, well, these players are making money. Why are they going to work hard? They're already made.
Yeah.
Well, there is an ego and there is a pride with it. Right? Like, oh, you got your money. Oh, you're just going to relax now. Oh, okay. Look at him over there.
Yeah.
He's not.
Well, especially now with this roster, we have so much depth.
Yeah.
Right? So many new guys, so many players fighting for starting spots.
You're getting paid. Guess what? You're getting paid to sit on the bench.
Everybody's getting paid.
Yeah, you're getting paid to sit on the bench because that guy's going to get paid to play.
Exactly. And you want to play.
Yeah.
Right? You absolutely want to play. So, again, just day one of spring football. I'm juiced. I'm amped. I'm ready to keep going. I'm ready for Saturday's practice. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, you get into next week as well. Good to see some familiar faces in here. Of course, Z-Man, the Green M&M. Glad to see Wes Beasy back in the chat now that football season is here. I expect to see all of you guys on tomorrow's show as well, continuing to talk ASU spring football. Of course, we'll talk about the result of whatever goes down between Arizona State and Virginia in the women's first 4 game this evening. So stay locked in. Make sure you follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devils on social. That is on Instagram. That is on TikTok. That is on Twitter as well. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Leche Larry here at Erik Ruby. That is Eric with a K. And don't worry about following the.
He's following you.
He is.
Watch out.
Look behind you. Noah is there. We'll see you on Friday. In the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.